hope you're able to hear and see me.
Yes, sir.
1 minute. Yeah. So you get started. So last class we saw what is electric field, right? So we saw what is the value of electric field due to a point charge. So what is electric field due to a point charge is? I told you you're supposed to remember those values. What is it? 1 by 4 pi epsilon naught times the charge value, correct, Anda? Q by? Correct. KQ divided by R square, that is 1 by 4 pi epsilon naught times Q divided by R square, where Q represents the source charge, the magnitude of the source charge, and R represents the distance from the source charge to the point where the field is expected, right? So electric field is always calculated at a point, right? Now we also saw the principle of superposition in the name of electric field due to multiple charges. So what is the value? If you want to find the electric field due to a system of charges, so for you to find, let's logically think of this fact, for you to find the value of electric field, what are the minimum number of charges that are required? This one, because the formula says kq by r square. Q itself is sufficient and you need to know the distance where you are calculating the field. So instead of having only one charge, there might be a system where there are multiple charges. What charges are they? Multiple point charges. If you want, you can extend it like this. If you have multiple point charges, then the net electric field is given as what? Vectors. Don't use the word sum. You need to use the word vector sum of all the individual electric fields due to the charges present in the system. I hope it is clear, right? Now, we are going to see the application of it. So last class we explained what is going to be, I explained this also, no? What is the direction of electric field intensity due to an isolated positive charge and negative charge? So due to an isolated positive charge, it is outward direction. That is, it is always away from the system. Whereas due to negative charge, it is towards the system. 1 minute, guys. Right. Right. So it is towards. Based on this concept, we are going to derive electric field due to an important system that we are going to study, which is called as the electric dipole. Please make a note of the next heading, that is electric dipole. So what do you mean by an electric dipole?
Sir, I'm sharing the screen, sir.
1 minute, I forgot to share the screen. Just a minute. So you would have heard this word already. So what does an electric dipole represent? Electric refers to charge, di refers to two, pole refers to polarity, right? So when you talk about a system which should contain how many charges? If you talk about an electrical system which contains of two charges, 2 point charges rather, and how are they supposed to be separated? Yeah, they are supposed to be of opposite nature and they should be separated by a very actually the concept of electric dipole that we are discussing here is the one you would have seen in your chemical bonding. It is actually related to chemistry. Okay, like how an electrostatic bond, an ionic bond is formed. In a similar way, you talk about an HCl, you talk about the molecule HCl. It is a dipole. It has H plus and Cl minus. There is a small amount of positive charge on hydrogen and negative charge on Cl. Now I'm stressing on one important point. What is it? They should have opposite nature. That is right, but they should be separated by a very small distance. When I say very small distance, how much should the distance supposed to be? It should be in terms of few meters, millimeters, centimeter, nanometer, and ANG. I'm clear, okay? So it should be in terms of nanometer or angstrom. So what is angstrom, guys? ANG star STORM. It is 10 power 10 minus 10 to the power of minus 10 meter. Please make a note of it. First, write down the definition. If two charges of if two charges of equal magnitude, if two charges of equal magnitude and opposite nature, if two charges of equal magnitude and opposite nature are separated by a very small distance, are separated by a very small distance, comma, the system is said to be an electric dipole. Okay. So diagrammatically, it is going to look something like this: positive charge and a negative charge. They will not be separated this far. Have this point in your mind. If the charge of positive is q and the charge of negative will also have the same magnitude q, but they are of opposite nature. Generally, the distance of separation between these two are represented as 2a, or some books give it as d also. Okay, small d, but generally we use 2a because for derivation purpose it is easy for us. You will understand the reason later. Okay, so this is how a dipole is going to look like. I hope it's clear. Right, now the next question that arises: does it have a parameter called as a dipole momentum? So what is the dipole momentum? It's represented by the symbol p. Okay, so what is the dipole momentum? So it is a product of what?
Charge and distance.
Charge and
distance between them.
It is a product of charge and distance. Okay, you have two charges here. Which charge will you take into consideration? Either of the charges. So write it down. Dipole moment's definition is: it is a product of magnitude of either of the charges. It is a product of magnitude of either of the charges and what? The distance of separation between them. So mathematically, how can I write it as? Q into 2a or Q into d also. Right? The next question. Since we saw a definition, is dipole moment a scalar or a vector quantity? It is a vector quantity. If it is a vector quantity, what is the direction in which it is going to exist? That is in chemistry. Here it is from negative to positive charge. So dipole moment always exists from the negative to the positive charge, and this is the rewrite. P with a cap on top of it, it's a unit vector. I hope you know this. Right? It's a vector quantity directed from negative to positive charge. This is again an important point, have this in your mind. Next is its unit. So if I talk about the SI unit of a dipole moment, what is it going to be? What is the SI unit of dipole moment? You look at this. You told product of charge and distance. Charge is measured in coulomb. And distance is measured in meter. Right? So the SI unit is going to be coulomb, meter. What is the common mistake that can happen? Don't write small c. When it becomes centimeter, it has a different meaning. Okay? Please be very careful with this. I've seen those kind of mistakes, be careful. Okay? So with all these points in mind, we are going to derive the electric field due to a dipole. The electric field due to a dipole. First, at a point called as axial. Second is a point called as equatorial point. Okay. So how to find the electric field due to a dipole? The first one we are going to see at axial. This is the heading. So what do you mean by axial point? A point along the axis of a dipole. For that we need to know what is the axis of a dipole. So what is axis? How do you define it? Pointer line. It is an imaginary line that is joining the two charges along them. Okay. So if I take this as the positive and this as the negative charge, if you are able to draw an imaginary line joining these two charges, then this line is what is called as axis. Okay, this has a positive charge q and this has a negative charge q. When I say axial point, it can be any point on the axis. So the point on the axis can either be on the left of the positive charge or on completely on the right of the positive negative charge or in between them. It is our wish, okay? So what we will do is we will take a point on the left of it, okay? I am taking a point on the left of it, which I call it as capital P, okay? So I told you there is a reason why we take the distance between the charges as 2a, because in physics, whichever derivation you are doing with respect to a dipole, wherever you see, whether it is you are calculating electric field, electric potential in the next chapter, all the distances for the point where you are calculating the values are measured only from the center. Okay, they are not measured from either of the charges. Don't make that mistake. They are measured exactly from the center of the dipole. If I call that center as O, then OA and OB will be two distances, will be the distance on the left hand side and right hand side. Then what will be the distance OA? If I call this as A, then this will also be A, right? And the variable distance that I am taking from O to P is R. I hope you guys are able to understand. So R is variable, A is fixed, and small a is, the other A is also fixed. Clear? Now what is our work? We need to find what is going to be the total electric field in terms of magnitude and direction at point P. So whenever I say direction, with respect to a dipole, you will always try to write the direction in terms of the dipole moment. So what is the direction of dipole moment? In this case, is it from left to right or right to left? It's from right
Right to left.
Yeah, it is from B to A. Right. Now we'll write everything in terms of these values. Okay. First, if I call this as 1 and if I call this as 2, then if I write E1P, what do I mean? Is it electric field between point 1 and P? Right. When I write F12, I call it as force between points 1 and 2. Don't make that mistake, okay? You don't write it as, there is nothing like electric field between points. Electric field will exist at a point, okay? So this is not written as electric field between 1 and P. Electric field due to the first charge at point P. Purida, please make a note of it. Electric field due to the first charge at point P. In terms of magnitude is what? Ashik, in terms of magnitude, what is it? 1 by 4 pi epsilon naught? This one, no. First one is a point charge. Due to a point charge, what is electric field? Look at the formula that we discussed in last class. 1 by 4 pi epsilon naught Q divided by the distance square. Can I write it as R square here? Look at it and tell me. Can I write it as R square?
Sir, I can explain why you took an imaginary distance of R between O and P, sir.
That is the distance at which you are calculating the field. R is the distance at which you need to calculate the field. Correct, Abbas?
So can you once more say that E1P, sir?
E1P is the electric field due to the first charge at point P. Electric
Okay,
field.
sir.
Yeah. So what is it? Very good. It is R minus A the whole square. Okay. Listen to this carefully, guys. We'll be dealing with vectors. Please be very careful. Okay. Always when you're dealing with vectors, first try to find the magnitude. Don't be in a hurry to solve both magnitude and direction simultaneously. Now what have I written? Have I written a scalar quantity or a vector quantity? I've written a scalar value. I found only the magnitude. I didn't bother to find the direction. Now if I put a bar, a vector symbol on top of it, my responsibility is to write the direction of it. So direction is represented with a unit vector. So due to the positive charge, is the electric field, see, this is the positive charge, okay? At point P, is the electric field towards point P or away from point P? Recollect, electric field due to a positive charge. It is towards.
What's point P?
So this is the direction. If you observe this arrow mark and P cap, they both are in same direction. So what can I write it here? Can I write it as P cap? Does that make sense? Right? Be very careful. Similarly, the electric field due to the second charge at point P, it is 1 divided by 4 pi epsilon naught into Q divided by R. What is this distance? It is R plus A. Don't make a mistake of writing as R plus 2A. Because R is from the center. R plus A the whole square. Direction. Electric field at the, see, this is point P. Due to the positive charge, electric field is in the leftward direction in this diagram. Due to the negative charge, it will be in the rightward direction because the negative charge has the tendency to pull the test charge towards itself. So this is E2P. So what should I write in terms of P cap? Minus P cap, that's it. So now my job is easy. So I found the electric field due to the individual charges in their vector form. The net electric field at point P in the vector form is going to be the vector sum of 1P and the vector sum of 2P. Right? Either of 2P, what do you want? No, you didn't understand the direction. Okay, see. Due to a negative charge, what is the direction of electric field? For notes, last class I discussed direction of electric field due to a negative charge. You would have drawn a sphere and it is inward. Inward in the sense, what is the meaning of electric field? So if I place a test charge here, I should assume that there is a test charge. In what direction will the test charge be pulled? Will it be pulled towards a negative charge or positive charge? It will be pulled because test charge by default is positive. Okay, so negative charge has the tendency to pull the electric the test charge. In a similar way, I have a negative charge here at point 2. Correct? I am assuming that there is a test charge Q naught placed at point P. I am assuming, I didn't show it in the diagram because going forward we will not show the test charge. It is for you to understand. If there is a test charge at point P naught, what will be the direction in which the charge at 2 will exert a force on Q naught? Will it exert a pulling force or a pushing force? Another, that is the reason why the electric field is in the rightward direction. The reason why I took the electric field to the right. At point P, there is a test charge which we didn't show. So whenever they ask you what is the electric field at a particular point, they are indirectly telling you what. At that point, there is a test charge present, but not in every question they will mention it. You have to do it in your mind. Okay. So that is the electric field due to the first charge and the electric field due to the second charge. I hope it is clear. Now what is common in both? Look at them. Q divided by 4 pi epsilon naught. KQ is common. Q divided by 4 pi epsilon naught into 1 divided by E1P is having a denominator of R minus A the whole square.
Sir, in the numerator, force will also be present, sir.
The numerator.
As electric field is forced by charge.
No need to do all those. No need to do. I have given here, no. I gave you no electric field intensity due to a point charge is Q divided by 4 pi epsilon naught R square.
Yes, sir.
So I use that formula. Okay. R minus A the whole square in the direction of P cap plus 1 by R plus A the whole square in the direction of minus P cap. Right. So Q divided by 4 pi epsilon naught into 1 by R minus A the whole square minus 1 by R plus A the whole square times P cap. Right. So Q divided by 4 pi epsilon naught into R plus A the whole square minus R minus A the whole square divided by R square minus A square the whole square in the direction of P cap. Right. So A plus B the whole square minus A minus B the whole square is 4AB. So that will be Q divided by 4 pi epsilon naught into 4 times AR divided by R square minus A square the whole square in the direction of P cap. Is there any doubt till this step? Is there any doubt? So with the step I have written here, physics is over, remaining things is only mathematics. Any doubt? So I assume it is clear for everyone, right? Next. Here there is an important note. In the definition of dipole, I told you one important point. I asked you to underline something. What is it? The distance of separation is very small. So when I say the distance of separation is very small, how are we going to look at it mathematically? Okay. So it is like this they are saying. The point where you are trying to calculate the field will always be very much greater than the distance of separation between the charges from their centers. This is what they mean by distance between charges in a dipole is very small. Okay, these kind of points are very important in physics. These will help for approximations. So from the definition, the mathematical meaning of it is R is very much greater than A, which implies R square minus A square can be approximated to R square. This is the expression we are going to use. If I call this as 1 and if I call this as 2, from 1 and 2, what is the important conclusion I can draw? Ezra? 4AR divided by R square the whole square. Because R square minus A square is approximated to R square. Right? So from 1 and 2, I can conclude that the electric field at point P is equal to Q divided by 4 pi epsilon naught into 4AR divided by R square the whole square in the direction of P cap. Okay. So electric field at point P will be equal to, we don't be in a hurry to cancel 4 and 4. This 4AR I can write it as 2 times 2AR. Right. So Q into, can I write it as 2 multiplied with 2A into R, the whole divided by 4 pi epsilon naught, R square the whole square is R power 4. R and this will get cancelled, power 3, this is P cap. Now what is Q multiplied with 2A? It is dipole moment. So this will be 2 times P divided by, what am I going to get in the denominator? 4 pi epsilon naught R cube in the direction of P cap. Okay. So whenever there is a problem asked to find the electric field due to a dipole at axial point, magnitude is what? 2 times the dipole moment divided by 4 pi epsilon naught R cube, or I can write it like this, 2 kp divided by R cube. This is another way to write. This is the formula. And a very important conclusion that we are going to draw from here is, the electric field due to a dipole on axial point is always in the direction of dipole moment. Is always in the direction of dipole moment, because the electric field on the left hand side is equal to magnitude times P cap. See, if I give you a value like this, A vector is equal to 2 times I cap, what can I say? The vector is directed in the positive x direction. If I give A vector is equal to minus 2 I cap, the best way to visualize it is, magnitude is always positive, 2 times minus I cap. So the vector and the direction are opposite to each other. So keeping all these points in mind, observe an important point here. This can be an assertion reason based question. Please be very careful. The electric field due to a dipole at axial point is always in the direction of the dipole moment. Please make a note of it. This is a very, very important note. Students online, I hope you understood.
You can repeat it
Yes,
again.
sir.
Okay. So write it down. Is there any doubt? Surya? Clear?
So can you repeat the statement once more, sir?
Sorry.
So can you repeat the statement once more, sir?
Which one?
Electric field at an axial point is
Write it down. Write the important note. Electric field due to a dipole at axial point is always in the direction of the dipole moment. Is always in the direction of the dipole moment. Okay. Next.
yes, sir.
Okay. See, going forward, what I will do is I will give you some mathematical relations in the form of a graph also. These things you cannot find it in textbook, but very rarely they ask these kind of questions also. Okay. If suppose they are asking you to draw the graph between as a function of distance from the center, where r is what? Distance from center, and electric field at axial point. If they ask you, what is the relation between these two? E is inversely proportional to RQ. So it will neither touch the y-axis nor the x-axis. It will be a graph which is continuously decreasing like this. Okay. So in the exam, if at all they have MCQ, they can give you options like this also. This is a straight line. Like if this is one of the options, which one you will choose? Obviously, the one where it is decreasing in the form of a curve. Okay. I hope it is clear. Can I go a little faster? Yeah. No, sir. So we have calculated at axial point. What is our next job? We need to calculate something. We need to calculate the electric field due to this kind of a system at equatorial point. So before we calculate, first we need to understand what they are trying to say by equatorial point. Abhinandan, what is it? Electric field point above or below the midpoint. Sorry, Dwar. Suppose, visualize it. Okay. So what he is saying is, if you take a point above or below the midpoint, that's called as an equatorial point. So before I explain what is a point, let me explain what is a point. See, your science revolves around 3 dimensions, 1, 2 and 3. Right? When I say 1 dimension, it is a line. 2 dimension, it's a plane. 3 dimension, it's space. If I call it a 0 dimension, it's a point. It's a dot, that's it, right? So whenever you're reading anything, right, you need to have this clarity. Here, electric field is told.
Sir, I'm not able to hear your voice, sir.
Equatorial point. Where do I take it? Right. So for that, there should be something called as a plane first. We need to understand what it is. So if I call this as a dipole, the cap positive charge, without the cap, the other end is the negative charge. Okay. These two charges exactly have a midpoint.
Sir, I'm not able to hear your voice right now.
Till where was
So you are explaining about dipole on the pen,
dipole on?
that pink color object.
That's the thing you saw, right? Okay.
That's
So what I
first time voice was
okay. Okay, listen. I have a dipole. This is the problem. I have a dipole. Okay. I have a plane which is exactly perpendicular to the axis of the dipole and passing through the center. Then that kind of a plane, if you're able to represent something like this, then this plane is what is called as an equatorial plane. Imagine the pen is pierced through it and it is equal on both the sides. Okay, that is called as an equatorial plane. So what is equatorial axis? It is a line, an imaginary line exactly passing through the center. Right? So if you are able to think of an imaginary line passing through the center of the equatorial plane, that is called as equatorial axis. Okay. Now, where will the equatorial axis and the axis of the dipole meet? They will meet at a point, obviously. Where will that point be? Dipole. Now is it better? Now is it better? So the strain is passing through the center. This is the center of this dipole, right? And this is the axis. So this axis and this axis are exactly meeting at the midpoint of whom? Midpoint of the dipole. So along this axis, if you are able to consider a point, then that point is technically called as an equatorial point. And this is the point where you are going to calculate the electric field due to a positive charge and a negative charge. I hope you guys are able to visualize it. Right? So it is not a point just above or below the n. If I take this as a dipole, I can say this is also a point. That is not an equatorial point. It is some random point. Purida? Please make a note of.
So I have a doubt.
Tell me.
So we should take it three-dimensionally, sir. We take I, J, and K in this case.
No, that's not your headache. I will take care of it. You need not take any three-dimensional. I want you to visualize what an equatorial point is. Because when I draw the diagram, it will look like an isosceles triangle. You should not get confused that it is two-dimensional. I wanted you to visualize it. 1 minute, I am sharing my screen. Yeah. See, I have a dipole. I have a dipole. I have considered an equatorial point P here. Right. So this is positive charge and this is negative charge. Now tell me, what will be the direction of electric field at point P due to the positive charge? Is it away or towards? Electric field due to a positive charge is always away from it. Correct? So it is going to be away along the line joining these two charges. So I will call this electric field as, if I name this as 0.1 and 0.2. How do I write it? E1P. Okay. Similarly, due to the negative charge, it is towards. Direction is more important for me. If you draw a line like this, it will be towards E2P. Okay. Now, listen to this carefully. Okay. Little bit of geometry is involved here. If I take this angle as theta, then this angle will also be theta. Accepted? Reason? If I take this as A, this will also be A, because I told you all the distances with respect to a dipole are measured from the center. So from the center to the point P is what we call it as R. Right? So what is that? What is that line OP actually? It is the equatorial axis. OP is equatorial axis. P is a point on the equatorial axis. So that point P is at an equal distance from the first charge and the negative charge. I hope you guys are able to visualize it. Right? From here, they will be like this. So it looks like, when you project it on a two-dimensional plane, it looks like an isosceles triangle. That's what I mean. Okay. So if this is theta and this is theta, now I need to find the resultant of E1P and E2P. In the previous case, it was very easy for us. Why? Because they both were in the same axis. They both were along x-axis. It was easy. Here it is not the case. So I need to think of parallelogram law of vectors, or I can also choose dissolution of vectors. Okay. So for me to resolve something, what I need to know is I need to know the angles. I need to know the angles first. So if I take the base angles to be theta with respect to this triangle, I'm going to shift all these things to the point P. Okay. Look at the way I'm going to draw. I'm considering only the triangle. Okay. If I take this as theta and this as theta, if this is dropped and this is extended. Okay. This is E1P, right? I'm not drawing any arrow marks. Now look at the geometry. If this is 90, how much is this? 90? Then how much is this? It's not theta. Da. If this is 90 minus theta, this is also 90 minus theta. All these angles put together will give you 180 degrees, right? So if I take this as alpha, alpha plus 90 minus theta 2 times is equal to 180. So alpha plus 180 minus 2 theta will give you 180. Cancel it. Alpha will be equal to 2 theta. Okay, so the angle here is going to be 2 theta. A very important conclusion, right? So if this is the case, now I'm going to do another activity. What is the electric field due to the first charge at point P in terms of magnitude? Electric field due to the first charge at point P in terms of magnitude is what? Same formula, 1 by 4 pi epsilon naught. Charge divided by the distance square. What is the distance? If this is r and a, this distance will be root of r square plus a square. So it is square root of r square plus a square, the whole square. What is the formula? 1 by 4 pi epsilon naught, charge divided by distance square. Purida? Shall I proceed? So this is equal to q divided by 4 pi epsilon naught, r square plus a square. In a similar way, what is going to be the magnitude of electric field due to second charge at point P? That is also same because they are symmetric. I'm not taking minus q here. Why? I'm concentrating only on one point. I'm calculating the electric field because direction is taken there by the vectors. I've already put an arrow mark, so I have nothing to do with that minus sign. Right? So q divided by root of r square plus a square, the whole square. It's the same thing again. So in terms of magnitude, what exactly is happening, guys? They both are same. This is where vectors come into picture. Right? Now comes the parallelogram law of vectors. Can someone state it? If there are two coinitial vectors acting at a point, obviously coinitial vectors act at a point. If there are two vectors acting at a point, are represented in magnitude and direction by the sides of a parallelogram, then the resultant is given by the diagonal passing through the common tail of these two. That is, if one vector is a vector and the other vector is b vector making an angle theta, then the resultant will be a diagonal, and the diagonal might make an angle alpha with the a vector. Then tan alpha is given as b sin theta divided by a plus b cos theta. I hope you know this. Right, now comes an important point. If a vector and b vector are of different magnitude, guys, I want you to think and tell me. If a vector and b vector are of different magnitude, r vector will be close to which vector? Will it be closer to the vector with greater magnitude or lesser magnitude? It will be closer to the vector with greater magnitude. If that is the case, if a vector and b vector are of same magnitude, then it should be an angular bisector. It should be an angular bisector. So we are going to use that concept here. So if I take the free body diagram of point P alone, if this is electric field due to the first vector at point P, if this is going to be the electric field due to the second vector at point P, we derive the angle between them. How much is it? 2 theta. Then the resultant is supposed to be an angular bisector making an angle theta with either of the vectors. This is what the electric field at point P represents. Rhythm. Now our job is to resolve them and solve them. How are we going to do this? If I call the electric field at the first point as E, electric field due to the second vector at point P also as E, then both the E's can be classified into X component and Y component. So if I take this electric field and if I take this angle to be theta, remember guys, E1P is exactly along the horizontal. Reason, if I take this as theta, the base angle is also theta, remember. So if I draw a line like this, right, this vector and the axis of the dipole are supposed to be parallel to each other, then only this theta and this theta can become corresponding angles. It will act like a transversal, correct? So this is theta means you can resolve it into two components. What are they? E cos theta and cos theta is along x-axis, sin theta is along y-axis. Similarly, E2p is in this direction. Purira. So this is E, then it can be resolved into two components. This is E cos theta and E sin theta. Now, if I take this whole thing and place it here, did you understand what I did? See, those who missed it. This is the electric field due to the first charge at point P. This is the electric field due to the second charge at point P. Now, I don't want them as separate things. I want them to be under the same roof. I bring it and keep it here. Then what can I say? E sin theta component gets eliminated and E cos theta is the component which is going to exist, and that is exactly in the direction of the resultant. That's what we are going to call it as EP, and EP will be equal to 2 times E cos theta, or 2 into what is the value of each electric field? Q divided by, look at your notes and tell me, Q divided by 4 pi epsilon naught. Very good. R square plus A square into cos theta. For cos theta, you need to search for a right angle triangle. Cos theta, look at the right angle triangle, tell me what is it? Cos theta is equal to, if I call this point as A, can I call it as OA divided by AP? Adjacent divided by hypotenuse. So A divided by root of, very good. Correct? Huh? So this is 2 times A into Q divided by 4 pi epsilon naught into R square plus A square into R square plus A square power half. Is R square plus A square the whole power 3 by 2. By this. R square plus A square the whole power 3 by 2. Then what is the approximation we can do? R is very much greater than A. When R square minus A square is approximately R square, plus will also be the same. Because compared to R square and A square is negligible. Whether you subtract or add it, it doesn't make any difference. 2AQ divided by 4 pi epsilon naught into R square the whole power 3 by 2. Do it in mind and tell me. R power 3. R square the whole power 3 by 2. 2 and half will get cancelled. You want me to write that
So
step?
how does 3 by 2 comes like in the power?
R square plus A square into R square plus A square power half.
Okay, sir.
Okay. So that is R cube. Right. So like the previous case, 2AQ represents dipole moment divided by 4 pi epsilon naught R cube. Did we derive the magnitude or the vector quantity? Till now we concentrated only on the magnitude. Right. Now my job is to write it in terms of vector. So I will write it as P divided by 4 pi epsilon naught R cube. Purida. There is P divided by 4 pi epsilon naught R cube. As soon as I put a vector symbol on top of it, I need to go back to the diagram and observe. P cap in this case is in which direction? Right to left or left to right? This is the direction of P cap. Right to left. What is the direction of electric field? Left to right. So, if you swap these two charges and see, that is positive with negative and negative with positive, the dipole moment will also get reversed, electric field will also get reversed. So, what is the important conclusion we can draw from here? It is minus P cap. So, two important things. Along axial point, it is in the same direction. Along equatorial point, it is always in the opposite direction to whom? To the dipole moment. So P divided by 4 pi epsilon naught R cube into minus P cap is the required value, or I can write it as Kp divided by R cube in minus P cap. So we have spoken to one important point. What is it? About direction. The other important point is in terms of magnitude. So what is the magnitude of electric field at axial point? It is 2 Kp by R cube. What is the magnetic field along equatorial point? Kp by R cube. So what is the ratio of axial is to equatorial? 2:1. Okay. So some important notes to be written here is, first, please make a note of this point. Electric field due to dipole at equatorial point is always in the direction opposite to or opposite direction of dipole moment. Opposite to dipole moment. Second, magnitude of electric field along axial is equal to 2 kp by r cube. Magnitude of electric field due to dipole at equatorial is exactly kp divided by r cube. Ratio electric field along axial is to electric field along equatorial is equal to 2:1.
So once can you move the page up, sir?
Right? Dipole momentum. See, I've seen some people writing it as dipole momentum. So this dipole momentum. So 2 kp by r. Any doubt at this point? Clear?
So I have a doubt.
Tell
Could you
me.
again explain why we took minus p cap, sir? The reason?
See, the way I drew the diagram is something like this: positive charge, negative charge, right? What is the direction of dipole moment? Negative to.
Negative to positive.
So this is the direction of p cap. When I took the point P, the isosceles triangle and all those things, the resultant was in this direction. So resultant is in the rightward direction, dipole moment is in the leftward direction, so they both are opposite each other. That's why minus.
Yes, I understood.
Right. Let's try out some problems. So let me show you what are all the points I have completed. See, in the textbook it is slightly different in the way from the way I'm going. Okay. We'll do one problem, then we'll end the session. So let's do example 1.8. Onwards. So concentrate on this problem, guys. This is an example of what will happen when a charge is moving through a given electric field. Okay. So, as of now, have this point in your mind that if they say uniform, whether it is uniform electric field or magnetic field, they are set of parallel lines. Have this point in your mind. Okay. If that is the case, then I've told you what is electric field line, right? So these are all the imaginary lines or what are called as electric field lines. If I say set of parallel lines or uniform field lines, okay, then what does this represent? Is it uniform or non-uniform? This is non-uniform. So have this point in your mind. So electric field due to an isolated positive and a negative charge is always non-uniform. So what is the source for generating uniform electric field? We will see it in the end of this chapter. I'll tell you at that point. Now what they're trying to say is, there is some source which has already generated a uniform electric field. Let me read this question. There is an electron which falls through a distance of how much meter? 1.5 centimeter in a uniform electric field, underline that word, uniform electric field, of magnitude, how much value? 2 into 10 power 4 Newton per coulomb. The direction of the field is reversed, keeping its magnitude unchanged. Okay, the direction of field is reversed, keeping its magnitude unchanged. There is a proton that falls through the same distance of 1.5 centimeter. Compute the time of fall in each case. Contrast the situation with that of a free fall under gravity. So you need to analyze the situation and tell in terms of free fall of gravity. Let's try to solve this. So before we solve this, there is not much mathematical equations involved in this. It's a simple thing, but you need to understand the physics behind this problem. Okay. So they are saying there is a uniform electric field, right? So uniform electric field, you have set of parallel lines. And remember, electric field is always away from the positive charge and towards the negative charge. Negative charge receives it. So if there is a positive and a negative charge separated by distance, electric field is always in that direction. So in the first case, there is an electron dropped. Now I have a question. When it is traveling the downward direction, is the electron traveling under a favorable situation or unfavorable situation? Is it favorable or unfavorable? Whatever electric field, it is favorable. Why? Because above you have a negative charge. Negative charge is repelling it more. It is trying to come down. The other way to look is electron will get attracted to the positive charge. Both the ways mean the same. Right? Similar is the case with the proton also. Proton bar. Second case is the proton. In the case of proton also, it is moving under the same situation. Now our work is to calculate the time it takes to travel a distance of how much value? 1.5 centimeter. Okay, for that I am using the formula S is equal to ut plus half at square. Right. So what is the distance? It is 1.5 meter. An electron falls. When they say falls, it is a free fall. Initial velocity is taken to be 0. 0 into t plus half into, this is the challenging part. Here, what should be the value of acceleration I need to take? You should not take it as g, because in this case the electron is not moving under the influence of gravity, rather it is moving under the influence of electrostatic. Enna sonna? Permittivity. It is moving under the influence of electric field. It is not moving under the influence of gravitational field. Because when we did that experiment, we analyzed, the papers got lifted upward. No? You remember when we used a balloon and all those things, the paper got lifted in the upward direction. They moved against gravity. So gravitational force is weak compared to the electrostatic force. So here gravitational force does not play any important role. Okay. So for me to find the acceleration, can I write F is equal to m into a? So acceleration is equal to the force divided by mass. But how can I write force in terms of electric field? F is equal to, basic definition of electric field. E is equal to F by Q naught. E is equal to F by Q naught. F will be equal to Q naught into E. This is another formula. So, if you know the charge and if you know the electric field in which the charge is moving, you multiply the charge with the electric field, that will give you the amount of force it is experienced. So, here what is the value of Q naught? What is the test charge moving under the influence of electric field? First case, what is the charge moving under the influence of electric field? Electron. So I can write it as minus E into capital E. Does this make sense? So minus E into capital E is the amount of force experienced by the electron. If I equate it to m into A, then A will be equal to minus small e into capital E divided by n. So if you take this value and substitute it here and calculate the value of time, you will get the required answer. Same is the case with respect to a proton as well. Okay. So it is minus E into capital E divided by m into t square. This is a very, very important expression. You will see it in further chapters. Please make a note of it. Minus E into capital E divided by m into t square. Okay. So T will be equal to, so you can ignore the minus sign while you are calculating time, because that minus sign indicates that electron is negatively charged. Okay. So T will be equal to, if I leave that S as S only, where S is 1.5 centimeter, 2s into m divided by small e into capital E under a root. So this is how we are going to calculate the time in this particular problem. Okay. So I want you people to try for proton. And if you observe, do you think both will give you the same value? Look at the parameters on which the time is dependent on. It is dependent on the distance it is traveling, mass of the particle, charge of the particle, and electric field. So what are all the common things in both the cases? Electric field is the same. Charge of a proton and charge of an electron are the same. Distance through which they are traveling is same. But what is different? Mass of proton is different from mass of an electron. Proton is heavier. So which one will take more time? Time is directly proportional to mass. So proton should take more amount of time compared to an electron. That's what they're asking. Values you people calculate. Okay, anyway, this is a solved example. You can again go through it. If there is any doubt, I'll clear it tomorrow. Right. So that's all for today. So tomorrow's class we will discuss about electric field lines. Then we will go to another concept called as Gauss law. GAUSS. Before Gauss law, we'll see what is electric flux, and then we'll. Okay. So revise and come.
Thank you, sir.
Okay.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.